Farming, which is something that is very beautiful to me. I'm not a farmer, but I'd be very happy to be one. It's a very beautiful world to me. And it's a truly noble American profession.
President Trump came to Cedar Rapids, Iowa this week, celebrating the American farmer and worker. Trump's focus was on improving outlets for domestic agricultural products.
American farmers and ranchers are the best, absolute best at what they do. And they can compete anywhere if they're given a level playing field. They're not given that level playing field because of our terrible, terrible trade deals. And we're going to start doing much better. You produce the product, but you have to work too hard and too long to make a living. We're cracking down on foreign trading abuses, making it easier to produce and grow in America, eliminating job-killing regulations all over the place. And we're training our great American workers.
Earlier this week, Market to Market spoke with former Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack. In his new job advocating for American dairy products, had a front row seat for a recent trade deal.
There has been a lot of news over the past several weeks about China's finally lifting the ban on U.S. beef moving into that country. And somewhat overshadowed by that was another announcement that China made concerning U.S. dairy processors. Could you tell us a little bit about what that change was?
You know, it's interesting on the beef side. We're already selling beef into China. We just are selling it in an indirect way. Either that or the Vietnamese are eating a tremendous amount of beef per person.
The people in Hong Kong sure are eating a lot of beef as well, yes.
So, but this was on the milk side, dairy side, a big opportunity for us. And it's complicated because China came out a couple of years ago with a different set of requirements for their certification for exports. And it basically requires processing plants to be able to meet certain specifications that the Chinese have set forth. And then they need to register their plant. They need to be verified that they're meeting those specifications before they can put product into the market. There are probably over 200 facilities, 200 plants in the U.S. that have wanted to do this but have not received permission because they just simply can't get on the registration list. The reason they couldn't get on the list was because there was a lack of clarity, a lack of certainty about precisely what the process was going to be and what the requirements were. Well, this MOU that was signed this month between China and our Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, basically lays out a process by which the FDA and their Chinese counterparts will work collaboratively together to get these over 200 plants the information, the guidance, the process by which they can qualify to get on the list. And that's going to create opportunities for them to sell across the board in terms of everything from fluid milk to cheese to ingredients to whey. To lactose, all across the board, all the products that we can sell, and that creates a tremendous opportunity for us in China.
We've seen Canada ruffle some feathers in the U.S. dairy industry with their new classification system and the exclusion, for intents and purposes, of ultra-filtered milk from U.S. producers.
Well, it requires, I think, the administration to take a firm stand on the way in which Canada uses its supply side and supply management program. Essentially what happens is whenever America begins to get a foothold in that Canadian market, the policy gets changed, a new classification, new category, a new standard, new specifications are developed by the Canadian government, and that results in us not being able to export as much into Canada as we would be able to. And it's also detrimental to Canadian consumers. They pay a substantially greater amount for their dairy products than they should because there just isn't competition. And it's a shell game because when we export into Canada, oftentimes what happens, it gets processed and then it gets re-exported, if you will, back into the U.S. in a value-added proposition.
We're shipping bulk milk into Canada, counts as a dairy export, and then they're shipping processed product into the U.S., counts as an export.
And that's not the way it's supposed to work. We're supposed to ship it into the country, and it's supposed to be used in that country and used by consumers in that country. I appreciate the fact that Secretary Perdue recently met with his counterparts in Mexico and Canada. I'm sure there was a frank conversation and exchange of ideas. But at the end of the day, bottom line, we want to preserve what's working and we want to correct what isn't.
For Market to Market, I'm Peter Tubbs.